Thank you. Good evening, all.
Good
You
evening.
all, I am Barbara Rogers, president of the Lamond-Riggs Citizens Association, and I want to welcome you to our December 2022 meeting. We are going to get started. So again, I want to welcome you all. I do have just a couple of announcements. We had 3 great Thanksgiving events this in November. We had a turkey giveaway that LRCA, we partnered with Council Member Louis George's office, and we gave away 260 turkeys. That was held at the Lamond Recreation Center. Also, the Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center and the Lamond Recreation Center actually had a senior Thanksgiving, and I attended both of those really nice events. Seniors came out, they fed the seniors. Lamont actually had a paint sipping paint, but they actually the seniors were able to paint. So that was a very nice event. So I just wanted to mention those activities. We did try to put in the newsletter some holiday events that will be going on around the city. I did just get a text from Reverend Paul. He can't.
Are you here?
You're
Thank you.
here. Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So we are actually going to get started. I'm going to turn it over to Angie now.
Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is go over our LRCA housekeeping rules. For those of you who have attended past meetings, you probably know this by heart, but want to make sure that we are all in agreement. During question periods, please raise your hand using *6 or *9 when appropriate, and you will be provided with the opportunity to ask your question during those given periods. We ask that you keep your comments brief, just so that we can keep the meeting flow quick and consistent and keep it orderly. And we ask that you try to keep yourself muted and try to eliminate background noise. You'll have 30 seconds to ask your questions. Limit your response to 1 question. Additional questions should be placed in the chat. Additional questions will be responded to if time allows. Please remain muted unless you are speaking. This is to help eliminate the distraction of background noises as stated above. No shouting or inappropriate language, which I'm sure we won't have a problem here. And just please refrain from being rude or disrespectful. And please follow all above. We want to try to avoid removing anyone from the meeting or anyone from the session today. Since this is a wonderful holiday, we're gonna have a wonderful meeting. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Angie. I do want to mention, of course, if you have any community concerns that are not addressed here in this meeting, you can always give us a call. The number is 202-838-6058, and you can always send us an email at ask@lrcadc.org. We check the voicemail and emails, and we will, address any community concerns that you may have that doesn't come up here at a monthly meeting, since we only meet once a month. So now I'm going to ask Reverend Paul if he would do the invocation as we get the agenda going.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. God, we thank you so much for how you have kept us from all harm and danger. We thank you for your grace, your mercy, and most of all, we thank you for your presence. Now, as we enter into this business of addressing community concerns, We ask that you continue to watch over each and every participant and their respective families and friends. Keep us and we shall be kept. This is our invocation.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to move to our officers' reports. Do we have Audrey on the line, our treasurer, Audrey Walker? I know that she was trying to get logged on to the meeting. Michael Cohen, is your hand up? Okay, we will actually, we'll come back to Audrey. We do want to move on to our minutes. The minutes were printed in the December newsletter, the November minutes. So hopefully those that received the newsletter or looked at it online, you're able to, you've read the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as they are printed in the December 2022 newsletter?
I make a motion that we.
Go ahead, Renfro.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as they are printed in our December 22 newsletter. Angie, can you unmute everyone? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion
No.
passes that we accept the minutes as they are printed in the December 2022 newsletter. I'm going to circle back. Did Audrey come on?
Pardon me.
She has not.
Okay, well, we will circle back to that.
Just 1 second. There seems to be some people trying to get in from the exec board. I just resent the link, just FYI.
Okay, maybe Audrey was one of those. Thank you, Tish. Okay, and we do want to acknowledge on the newsletter, on the meeting, Angie does list the meeting ID twice on the first page, but one number in where the meeting ID was printed, inadvertently, the first 8 was a number was missing. However, it is above there, so that is our mistake. We apologize for that. But it is listed twice there, so hopefully people will look up and see the meeting ID listed again. Okay,
And
so
Audrey is
I will.
joining us.
Audrey's here. I just got. Okay, Audrey, are you on? She said she's trying to get on her phone. I know that she was actually traveling.
Looks like she dropped.
Okay. All right, so we will circle back. Let's move on to our elected officials. I know I did just get a text from Jim from Councilmember Lewis's George's office. He will not be able to make it tonight, but he was going to send me some meeting notes, and I have not gotten those yet. So if I do get those notes, I will share that information with you all. Let's move on to, what about Councilmember McDuffie's office? Do we have anyone from Councilmember McDuffie's office on? Okay, now we're going to move to our ANCs. If you all got the newsletter or looked at the newsletter online, you will notice that we actually listed some of the commissioner-elects. We thought it was important that you know who your new ANC commissioner might be, We know that they don't take office until January. We wanted to invite them because we are not having a January meeting, just to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves to their new constituents. But for now, we're going to go to Allison, Commissioner Allison Brooks. Is Allison on?
She is not.
Okay, we're gonna, and Commissioner LaRoya Huff is not feeling well. So she is not gonna be on tonight. So it looks like now we can go to our commissioner-elects. I did see Michael Cohen on. Michael, are you on? Michael Cohen is the new commissioner for 4B07. Do we see Michael Cohen on? I did see him earlier. Okay. And all of them, I did send invitations to all of them. What about Commissioner-elect, is it Malone?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. First name is Duvalier Malone.
Duvalier, I didn't want to mess it up. Thank you.
No, you're fine. Thank you so much for reaching out. And I'm excited to be here. And I absolutely look forward to working with each and every one of you all. So super excited to be here. And thank you for the invitation tonight, and looking forward to the upcoming year.
Okay, and he is the commissioner-elect for 5A01. If you want to share your contact information in the chat, please do.
Okay,
Thank
will
you
do.
so much, Commissioner-elect Malone. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on down the list. Do we have Commissioner-elect Carlos Cozart? I think he is traveling. He was traveling and he was going to be getting at the airport around this time. So he may log on a little bit later. And finally, we have Commissioner-elect Zachary Aberman. Now, Commissioner-elect Aberman has been on our meetings before. He has actually assisted LRCA in a few capacities, so we really appreciate him. Zachary, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So hi, my name is Zach Amerman. I'm the new, as you just mentioned, I'm the new commissioner-elect for 5A09, which is a brand new district. Hold on, let me put my video on. There we go. Which is a brand new district. So just really quickly, so you guys know if you live in my district or not. 5A09 is roughly bordered by South Dakota Avenue on the east, the Red Line on the west, Riggs Road on the north, and then it goes down to a little bit into North Michigan Park as well, about 3 or 4 blocks into North Michigan Park. So it's almost entirely, I think, if not entirely, carved out of the old 5A08, which was Commissioner Fletcher's old district. Well, it's still his district, but it's just he got moved to a different, he got moved south a little bit. So a little bit about me. My name is Zach Amerman. I am an artist and designer. You may have seen, I make maps. Basically, I make, that have been featured in the Washingtonian and a couple other places. DC decorative maps of DC, basically. So that's my day job. I used to work at the French Embassy, and now I am doing this. So I look forward to working with you all. My main priorities are going to be trying to do something about traffic safety. It's particularly along South Dakota Avenue, and also trying to put some pressure on the National Park Service, and also WMATA a little bit to take care of the parks in our area, and to do something about the litter situation, and also to put some pressure on, I'm not sure, I'm assuming many people here are aware of it, but there was also the World War I era chemical weapon that was found in the park that's in my district, and I plan on doing some investigation with that to try to do a little bit more digging, so to speak.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Commissioner-elect Aberman. So those are the new elect commissioners. And again, we just thought it was important that that you all get to hear from them. And please put your information in the chat so that you know, residents on the call could maybe write down your information. Thank you all again. Please.
Ms. Walker and Mr. Cohen have both joined us.
Okay. We meet the first Monday, so please put our meetings on your calendar. We meet the first Monday of every month, with the exception of January, and then June would be our last meeting until October. So we'll be off for the summer. But thank you all again. And we were joined by Commissioner-elect Michael Cohen, and he's the commissioner for 4B07. Michael, you have a minute.
Great. Thank you so much. I apologize that I'm a little late. I was also attending an ANC 4BO6 SMD meeting.
Okay.
So that's why I'm a little bit late, is there's two meetings going on. And that's actually a good segue for the SMD itself. So I'm the commissioner-elect for 4B07. I start my term on January 1st. 4B07 is a large SMD that includes parts of the current 4B06, which is Manor Park. It also includes parts of almost all of Lamond north of Kansas Avenue and west of Eastern. And then it also includes parts of Tacoma, South Tacoma, which is Walnut, Whittier, Harlem Place, that area, a little bit north of Van Buren. So I'm here if anyone needs me. I'm trying to get things going even before my term starts on January 1st. Best way to reach me is either to send me an email at michael@cohen4anc.com. That's Michael.
Okay.
Can I get my phone number as well?
Sure, and please put it in the chat as well, Michael, please.
I sure will. So phone number is
Okay.
202-656-0452, and I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now we have I think I see a few hands up. Lori LaRue, do you have your hand is up? Do you have a question? And Audrey, I'm coming to you next. Hello? Lori? We can't hear. Angie, can you mute that number? Because there's an echo. Okay, Audrey, are you ready?
Yes, I apologize. I'm being late as well. I had trouble getting in. My name is Audrey Walker. I'm currently the treasurer for the LRCA. I want to thank all my fellow neighbors for electing me to the 4B09 ANC commissioner seat. I'm a native Washingtonian. I've lived in 4B09 for over 17 years. I have two children. They're 13 and 17, and I am an educator. I have my background in DC public schools, and right now I am directing youth and family programs for a nonprofit in Ward 1. So I'm really, really excited to work with everyone in 4B09, the LRCA, so that we can get some of our issues to the forefront and get a lot of things resolved. I will put my information in the chat, and I really look forward to meeting with you all, and I can't wait to our first meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Audrey. Audrey, are you ready to give the treasurer's report?
Yes, I am.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Let's roll right into the treasurer's report. Okay, so this is the treasurer's report for December 5th, 2022. The beginning balance was $7,099.92. There were two deposits made, one of $914.26 in membership dues and $385 in donations. And there were three expenses. There was one expense for the LRCA newsletter for $330 and one expense for the Father's Day reimbursement for $20.65. For a total expense of $350.65. Our ending balance is $8,048.46. And I'm pleased to announce that I do have the ANC grant check in my hand for $3,000 that will be deposited tomorrow in our bank account. So really excited and grateful to receive this donation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Audrey. Can I get a motion to accept the treasurer's report as just reported by Audrey Walker?
So moved.
Okay, so we got
Second.
okay, so we got a motion and we got a second. Please unmute everyone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Barbara, I'm
Yes.
sorry, I couldn't get in. I did have a question. Can I ask it now? I can put it in the chat or I can ask it out loud.
What is is it pertaining to the treasurer's report?
Yes.
Okay, what's your question?
I see that ANC 4B awarded us the $3,000.
Yes.
I've been at pretty much every meeting, and I just want to know, when was that voted on by the general body?
When was what voted on?
So just want to know.
We mentioned it at the last meeting that we were applying for a grant. Allison Brooks reached out to us as the commission had funds that they had to distribute to the community.
Right.
And it was mentioned at the last meeting that we were going to apply for a grant.
Was that mentioned
Were
in the
you on the last meeting?
No, I missed the November meeting, but I went through the minutes. I didn't see it mentioned in the minutes, so I wasn't sure.
Yes, yeah, we
Okay.
mentioned it. It was mentioned at the November meeting that we were going to apply. Even Allison mentioned it, I think, in her presentation.
Good, thank you.
You're all right. So did we all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion passed that we accept the treasurer's report.
Barbara, please unmute yourself.
I can't see anything and I can't hear anything.
We
You're
can hear each other.
Can hear you.
You're still muted, and I just sent you a message to unmute. Just click on the button.
Okay. Okay, so we have a couple of speakers here. And do we have Vicky Cordulo on? She is the transportation manager for DDOT. And we invited her here as we have heard mention of a proposal for a bike lane that will be coming out of the Fort Taunton Metro. If you're coming out towards Riggs, it'll to make a right, it'll be some type of back lane. I will let her explain to you, and then we will have questions or concerns from the community. I did not hear back from you, Miss.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Do you have a presentation to show the community?
I do.
Okay. So
Can I take it
Angie,
away?
if you could give her the rights to share her presentation.
I think it looks like I can. Give me just one moment to set it up. Can everyone see a PDF presentation that says Riggs Road on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for confirming. Is it visible enough? I can try and make it a little bigger. Might be better.
Yeah, that's bigger.
Okay, well, let me start by saying thank you all for having me. I was just very impressed as the numbers ticked up on the number of participants. You guys have a really active group here, and it's really cool to see. But also thank you for the introduction. Again, my name is Vicky Cadulo and I'm a transportation planner at DDOT. I sit in the active transportation branch. So we work on pedestrian projects, bike projects, trails. You've probably met some other folks that I work with, but tonight I'm here to talk specifically about the open space on Riggs Road near South Dakota. But the reason I'm here to talk about that tonight is because I'm working on a cycle track / safety project for Riggs Road between First Place Northeast and South Dakota. So I'll just skip. Actually, I'm going to go through these a little bit if that's all right. So to give a little bit of context on why this project's being pursued, we know that the city has goals to increase the number of people that walk and bike and use transit, basically reduce the number of people that drive. And in that effort, we know that there are parts of the city that we need to improve the safety for all road users. We also know that the changes that we can make to the road are effective in helping people feel more safe and be more safe while traveling. So I've touched on a couple of the programs here, but just in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving if that's okay. I wanted to call out that right now on Riggs Road, there is no bike lane in the area that we're speaking about. And so right now, the people that would be comfortable biking on Riggs Road would be folks that are in a very small percentage of the population. There's a study that was done that assessed all bike users or just people in the population of users and found that a very small percentage of people are comfortable riding a bike if there's no bike lane or no protected bike lane. There is a large percentage of the population that would ride a bike if they had access to a protected or separated facility. And so really this is just a call out that DDOT is moving more towards and is making every effort to move towards providing low stress bike facilities for users. As you all know, the MBT is very close to LRCA. And so this project is aimed at tying together the Met Branch Trail and a trailhead that I'll be speaking about in a moment. I should have gone to the map when I said that. So this is the Met Branch Trail that I was speaking about just now over here on my screen. In yellow, I've highlighted where this project is located, the safety and cycle track project will be. And then in purple, as you all know, this is South Dakota, and this is where there's future infrastructure planned. So this was laid out in the Move DC plan, which was the result of extensive outreach and engagement. And this is what the mayor, all of our officials have laid out as the vision for the city. And so this project is seen as a way to connect the infrastructure that will be in place or is already in place to provide people a safe way to walk, bike, etc., to and from the Met Branch Trail and just in this neighborhood, in your all's neighborhood. Just wanted to highlight that DDOT has had a strong track record of cycle track projects and other safety projects in the district. As you all know, you travel through the city every day. You've seen them. I'm sure you've seen them, but just wanted to point out a few of them. We have 15th Street, Irving, Brentwood Parkway. Here we have 4th Street shown in this image. And this actually is a good image to keep in mind as I move to my next slides. This is a two-way cycle track on one side of the street, and this is a similar alignment that we have in mind for Riggs Road. And again, we're moving away from sharing space with pedestrians where there can be conflicts with vehicles, or there can definitely be conflicts, more towards a situation where bicyclists have separated space. And now to get to the project. Obviously, again, I know the main interest tonight is to hear about the trailhead. But I can't speak about that without giving the context as to why it's coming up right now with very good timing, because I know you all have a survey that you put out. So I want to give another shout out to the LRCA for putting the effort and the time into putting a survey out to the community. I know that takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. So I want to say thank you for that, because it's information that we can partner on and use to create this public space. So again, I mentioned that the Met Branch Trail down on First Place Northeast, that trail is being extended up onto Riggs, and so it will connect up here. And then here we have between First Place and South Dakota, this envisioned two-way cycle track in the southernmost lane on Riggs Road. Something I want to call out is that west of First Place Northeast, so over here, I hope you can see my mouse, over to the west, there are 2 through lanes going through this intersection. And so there's an extra receiving lane to the east of First Place. And I don't mean to get into the jargon, but I just mean to say that this southernmost lane is not used for, is not considered in calculations when we look at the operations of this road. And so we called out that this was an area that could be prime for reutilizing in another way. This is what we're always looking to do, look for space that we can give back to the community in a way that makes their walking, their biking safer and more enjoyable. So we're calling out that this is an excess capacity, an excess lane on the road, and we're going to be putting in, the vision is to put in a two-way cycle track. Obviously, South Dakota is a quite a busy intersection, and so the part of this project is also envisioned to create a trailhead for the Met Branch Trail. So although it won't be over here where the Met Branch is, we're anticipating that providing this space over at Riggs in South Dakota will be a really great place for the community. I know you all had the same idea a long time ago, and so we're aligning on this vision and this hope to create a public space that is a meeting place for people that are using the trail, or just a meeting place in general for friends and family to enjoy. So that's at a high level. Here I've obviously made a like comical circular shape that is symbolic but also literal. I think one of my questions I was hoping to hear from the community about tonight is just any sort of results from that survey that could be useful for when I work with a team of engineers to draw up plans. We're anticipating that the cycle track will be on street, and then where you see it crossing the sidewalk, we're envisioning the bike lane coming off the road and into that green space into a concrete pad, and that's what I've called out here in the MBT trailhead. My understanding is that we have the ability, like within the project that I'm working on, to build a concrete pad, which would be basically the bones or the beginnings of what your community envisions for the space. I don't know how far we'd be able to take it exactly within the project scope that I'm working on with the cycle track. Like, for example, if the community envisioned very specific features like benches or whatnot, I think we'd need to talk more about how DDOT or how another agency can help you all have those features. But I do want to be clear that technically speaking, my role as a transportation planner is to make the road safer, but we have the opportunity to make a public space. It aligns very well with what you all are hoping to do too. That's my hope, that's my belief. And so I'm hoping this is the beginning of conversations where I can work with you all to at least make the beginnings of that a reality, and then we can figure out who can take it across the finish line. It's not relevant to the trailhead, but I did want to call out because I have community members here, and I'm sure you all might be curious. This is from as though you were on the street. This is the visual of what the road would look like with this project in the street. You know, this is not the trailhead portion, but in the street, we're envisioning 2 driving lanes on both sides, which is maintaining what we have currently, and then taking that excess lane to create, again, like I said, that 2-way cycle track. So bicyclists would be traveling both directions on one side of the road with some protection separating them from the moving vehicles. I mentioned earlier that we would have bicyclists come off the road onto the sidewalk and then directly onto this trailhead. And this is an example on Brentwood Parkway. I wanted to just show an example in case people might not have seen it in their day-to-day, lives driving around, but this is an example of what that would look like. That's the end of my slide. So I'm going to go back to that overview and just say again that I know that the survey had gone out to the community. I think the deadline was about a month and a half ago, I think. And I just want to say thank you again. I think you guys are doing really great work to explore these topics, figure out what your community is wanting and needing at their fingertips. And so I'm hoping that we can, continue the conversation, and this is just the beginning. So I'll pause there for questions.
Okay, thank you so much. I do have a couple of questions.
Please.
And Mr. Oliver will report on this later. We are meeting, doing a visioning session with EYA that is actually happening this month. And I would like for you to get with Mr. Oliver to kind of, so you can know what the community has said that they want in that space. I think it would be good for you to get with Mr. Oliver on that. That's number one. The question I have, is this a proposal at this point? Is there going to be a larger community meeting around that? We have 61 people on here now, but this doesn't encompass, of course, the majority of this community. That was one question. So Is there going to be is DDOT going to do a larger community meeting, maybe at the library, maybe at the rec center or something like that? And the second question is, have you all that right lane as it turns onto South Dakota? It's a very busy lane in the afternoon for cars coming out, going back out to Maryland. Have you all done some type of survey of the traffic that uses that right lane?
Those are fantastic questions. And if anything, I want to thank you because those are things that I should have mentioned when I presented. So thank you. For your first question, well, actually to your earlier point about discussions with EYA, I'm happy to speak with whoever. If you could connect me with them, I think that would be fantastic. But for your first question about engagement, something I should have mentioned is that I did do an initial presentation to ANC 4B as well as 5A, because as you all know, the ANCs touch, they both touch Riggs Road in this location. And so naturally my job is to communicate with everyone involved. And so I met with both ANCs. It was an initial conversation. It was not a final one by any means. And it was just to introduce the community to the project, get some initial feedback. Coming off of that meeting, I have connected with Food and Friends. I think I saw some familiar names in the participants, and I'm going to be meeting with them tomorrow. You know, if anyone's still on, I want to say thank you to the Food and Friends folks for communicating with me about talking further about their driveways. And just want to conclude that thought by saying, again, this is the beginning of the engagement. I will be working with a consultant that DDOT has that does engineering. They do analysis. And this answers your second question as well. They are going to look at any technical detail that needs to be looked at for this project. And they've already started that process in the past week or two or so. But they have some work that they need to do to look at this project and all of the components of it from a technical standpoint. Their results, I will be assessing, talking internally with DDOT folks. And then in the end, that will become another update to the community where I would be sharing back designs. And then we would then, go back to the consultant, finalize the designs. And then I think at that point, there would be officially an NOI. So it'll follow that trajectory, generally speaking. But I say all that, but the bigger point is, if I need to communicate more with you guys, I'm happy to set up follow-ups and come back and talk with you all. So everyone's in the loop on everything.
Are you able to send us this presentation?
Absolutely.
Because, and I think that is important because I think initially, at least as far as I know, I wasn't aware that there would be bicycles coming the opposite way. I thought it was going to be a shared lane, but you're reporting something different. And and I'm sure Food and Friends would have a concern, how would their big trucks and get in and out of their parking lot if there is a dedicated lane in the right lane?
That's exactly what I'm speaking with Food and Friends about. Again, we have an engineering consultant that'll be looking at that from the numbers standpoint, just to make sure that our design meets the needs of Food and Friends for them to continue to operate as they do today. And so I guess just to clarify, make that known again, I am working with Food and Friends and have the intention of bringing them along in the process of making sure their driveways are well accounted for.
Okay, I see we have a lot of questions. And my last question, have you all thought about, using if they're going to connect back to the sidewalk, you didn't think of using just the sidewalk?
That's a really good question as well. So unfortunately, the sidewalk is not wide enough to constitute a shared use path where bicyclists and pedestrians have enough space to both travel safely. And so we could in the future look at, we can always look at expanding the sidewalks to allow for, an official shared use path. Unfortunately, those projects, they take more time because we're changing the gutter. And with, I'm sure you all have seen puddles around the city. We're very careful to make sure that we don't cause any problems with our drainage. And so as an intermediary or as a step that we can take sooner rather than later and provide this access for bicyclists and pedestrians sooner, we are looking to just do an in-street facility as shown here with some physical separation and some kind of physical protection between the bicyclists and the drivers. So they will not be on the sidewalk. I want to make sure I say that again.
Okay,
So
let's
there
get
are-
to, it's a lot of hands up. So
Absolutely.
we're
The
gonna
first
get
hand-
to some questions.
The first hand I see, and I'm just going in the order in which I see it, is Rodney Foxworth. Rodney, go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, Victoria, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good presentation. Just got a couple of quick questions and I'll be brief.
Please.
So can you kind of give us an 800-foot view of why the back lane in general? You may have mentioned that. Does it connect to the trail that's coming through? Or this is just a general bike lane policy that DDOT is trying to implement?
Do you mean the connection to the Met Branch Trail that I mentioned earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so the Met Branch Trail currently reaches to about here on First Place Northeast. And the folks that I sit essentially across from are working on an extension of that trail that will take it off street, up First Place Northeast. I hope you can see my mouse, taking a left on Riggs Road, again off street, and then crossing onto First, I believe that's First Street Northeast.
Yeah, and I think that's the plan that we saw several months ago, and we know that you guys are implementing that now.
Yes, sir. So this project was seen as a logical connector between projects that are in the works and projects that are coming in the future. And so that's really where
sorry, Victoria, you referring to housing projects or other kinds of projects or both?
No, I didn't mean housing projects. That was a good clarification. I mean, the planned infrastructure that's shown on this map and the dotted lines on the streets, those are future planned infrastructure projects for bike facilities.
Okay, so I'm still not clear on why that stretch, why is DDOT planning that stretch for a bike path if in fact it's not specifically going to connect to any particular housing developments or other kinds of projects? It seems like it's kind of standing alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I misunderstood. I thought you were asking if I was like referencing a specific project. I was speaking at a very high level that this map is showing bike infrastructure. I mean, DC is a city. There's a lot of folks moving about and across neighborhoods every day. And so the idea of creating a bike network or a bike infrastructure system is that people can travel across neighborhoods, through neighborhoods to get to destinations. So Fort Totten Metro or, the like.
Okay, I'm still not clear what this connects to, but let me get to my other questions because I know other people had some as well.
Rodney,
Rodney,
I think what he's asking is the one that we're talking about now, you're presenting on Riggs Road. What is that going to connect to?
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
There's nothing there on your plans.
Okay, understood. So South Dakota in purple is showing a future planned bike lane. There's nothing there right now. But in this Move DC plan, I recognize that the dates is 2021, but Move DC is visioning the future. It's not necessarily what's in the ground today. You can see in green and brown and purple, there's different colors called out. It's future, existing, et cetera, infrastructure. So this is a vision for the whole city from a high, bird's eye view of what the bike network will look like. So there's nothing on South Dakota right now, but there will be.
All right, so here's my other question on that. I know other people have some as well. I know that I thought DDOT was working on a safety study for the intersection of Riggs and South Dakota. Is that in place? And if so, how does the potential for a bike lane, not only on Riggs Road going under the underpass fits into that, but obviously a bike lane along South Dakota Avenue? And it seems as though that you're taking you're taking the right lane away from the bike lane going down the hill towards South Dakota Avenue. And you've been out there before during rush hour. It's going to cause significant problems, adding to the problems we already have, if in fact that bike lane takes away that third lane, which is a right turn going down the hill.
Okay, so happy to explain and clarify this further. So first, about the safety study that you mentioned, I did communicate internally with the folks at DDOT that are working on that. And my understanding is that they began working on that project, I don't want to say how many months ago, but at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 months ago. Last I heard, they were looking at doing data collection. So that study is happening. It's being handled by other folks at DDOT. But I do want to assure you that it's being worked on. Your second point, or your second question, excuse me, about that third lane operates as a turn lane moving into South Dakota, except you don't need a turn lane that's several hundred feet long.
Right.
From an operation standpoint, our engineers can determine how long that turn pocket needs to be to make sure
Right.
that South Dakota operates at a level that DDOT is comfortable with. So
Right.
we're basically gonna, think of it this way, we're basically gonna back calculate how much space that right turn lane needs, and then we'll put the bike lane up to that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks for asking.
We have a question from Judy. Judy, go ahead and pose your question.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Yeah, I put a lot of my questions in the chat. You have answered a good number of them, but your street level depiction of Riggs Road going south to Maryland towards South Dakota has 4 car lanes. There aren't 4 car lanes now. So I don't know. So you're saying, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the medium. I'm sorry. So you're going to take, we only have 3 lanes, and that traffic along there is just horrendous in the morning and in the afternoon. And is the traffic backup any concern about adding a bike lane to further back up traffic?
Thank you,
Yes, it's
Judy.
definitely-
Huh?
Thanks, Judy.
Okay, no problem.
And I think you're saying thank you because it ties back to what the gentleman before you had asked. Essentially, this third lane that is in the southernmost portion of Riggs Road is considered excess capacity because there are 2 lanes. I wish I could show you a little bit better.
I'm
but
sorry,
over here-
excess capacity of
I'd
what?
like to explain
Of
a little further.
cars or
I'd like to just like finish my thought if that's okay. So on this part where the box is, can you see where my box is on my screen?
No.
Oh, shoot. Okay, well, do you know
Yes,
where
it's the
first?
blue box at the bottom.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. I just wanted to.
I didn't know if you got my thought about how heavy the traffic is, and putting a bike lane would further make that traffic a little more condensed. Is the concern not the car traffic, or the concern is about the pedestrian and bike traffic?
And I thank you for finishing your thought. I'm sorry for jumping in a little too quickly there. So the concern is always safety. That's like the paramount issue that we are concerned with these days. Obviously, people need to get where they need to go, and they need to not sit in traffic forever. That's also always a concern. But our job at DDOT is to balance those 2 things. We have a responsibility to keep roads as safe as possible for residents, for the constituents. And so that is a major factor of this project, is providing safe passage for people through the corridor that are not in a car. And I definitely do want to say, I hear you on the traffic. I know that there's heavy flow on Riggs Road. I don't want that to also go acknowledged. What I had wanted to call out over here, which I hope you can see what I'm pointing to right now with this blue box, is that west of First Place, there are 2 through lanes and 1 right turn lane. So if you're a driver in that right turn lane, you can't go straight. You have to go right onto First Place. And so moving through that intersection at First Place, there are 2 through lanes entering this portion, excuse me, of
I got it.
Riggs.
Yeah.
And so that's, I know excess can sound like, oh, is there really excess? But that's what I mean when I say excess space, which is that there are vehicles that are not traveling through this intersection into that third lane. And it very quickly becomes a turn lane at South Dakota. And so that's where the vision of using that lane came from, to create this cycle track.
Okay. Well, okay.
I know.
So the concern is not the vehicular traffic, but
we're not.
Also very brief. I got it. Unless you want to explain some more,
No,
I'll
please,
let
please.
you. I have a very brief question. My second one is, what is an NOI?
Oh man, I always forget what it stands for. I believe it's notice of intent. I think Will might be on.
Intent. Okay.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
yep.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say again, I'm sorry I cut you off. It's hard over Zoom. Sometimes there's a lag.
We have a question from Mimi.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi,
Who's next?
Mimi.
Okay.
So I have throughout the city, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, throughout the city, I have noticed several bike lanes. In particular, I have a serious concern because traffic can't move to the right when there's an emergency vehicle. And also with the bicycles having so many rights that they don't even abide by the traffic signals either. So if the bike lanes is to protect them, we also need to have protection for people who have no other choice but to drive. And DDOT was supposed to do a study at Riggs and South Dakota Avenue. And we have yet to get that clarification because that has added to the traffic and the accidents coming from out of Walmart for people making a U-turn on 3rd Street. And so all of that intersection from First Place for people to go into the metro, people to come out the metro, will be backlogged because there are no additional lanes and no spaces for people to move over for emergency vehicles. And that's what my comment / question is about.
Just if I could clarify, are you asking about emergency vehicle access in the area?
When there's traffic, for example.
Yeah, no, that's
And they can't, your car can't move over because the bike lanes are blocked with those poles. And the emergency vehicles have to sit in traffic. And we all know that time ticking is essential to getting to the patient or getting the patient to the hospital. And all these bike lanes are causing a backlog for the fire trucks and the emergency vehicles.
Well, first I want to say that's definitely a major issue, and it's something I think about every time I see fire trucks or EMS around the city. So I agree, it's definitely concerning when vehicles, emergency vehicles, can't seem to get through traffic. Something that I would just call out is that if vehicles were in that space, it would be a similar issue where they wouldn't be able to get around them. And so the bike lane shouldn't be causing additional impacts with that. I'd have to double check this, excuse me, but I think some physical barriers for bike lanes are designed so that they can be driven over in case of emergency. And so that's something I could look into and follow up with you on if you'd like. I could just check in on that.
Without damaging your car.
What's I mean, like a fire truck.
Yeah, but the lane's not big enough for the fire truck to go by without hitting your car.
Let me go back to what I said. I can look into it and I can follow up with you if you'd like. I think the bigger point is that there are bike lanes all across the city, and this is something that the fire department is very aware of. They're definitely our partner in these projects. And so I just want to go back and reassure everyone that when bike lanes are designed and installed in the city, the fire department is very aware of it and has okayed basically, on a high level what we're doing. So I can see from the perspective of seeing it happen, it can be concerning, but this is something the fire department and all the city officials are aware of, and it's something
Okay, and I'd like to say something too. For those of you who are coming on with your questions, please put your questions in the chat too, so that we can have a list of these, concerns that are coming up. Okay, let's move on.
We have Ms. Mack.
Okay, hello, my name is Ms. Mack. My question is, you said you spoke with DDOT pertaining to this bike lane. Let me ask you a question. Have they responded back to you concerning the bike lane?
I'm sorry, I think I missed a very important word.
Okay, you spoke with DDOT about the bike lane on Riggs Road. And my concern was, have they responded back with you about this bike lane? Because they haven't resolved the issue at Riggs Road in South Dakota pertaining to the traffic that came along with the Chick-fil-A and the back of Walmart. So I don't know how DDOT is moving on with a bike lane, yet have they resolved the issue that's going on with the traffic flow at this time we having right now?
Yeah, so definitely happy to clarify. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, have DDOT responded back with you concerning this bike lane, and are y'all moving forward, or what's the status of this?
Thank you for asking that question. To clarify what I had mentioned earlier, there is a study that DDOT is working on, another group at DDOT. I'm with DDOT. I'm a transportation planner at the District Department of Transportation. Another group that is at DDOT is working on a safety study for what you described, the concerns around the Chick-fil-A and the intersection at Riggs Road in South Dakota. And I would not say that, you know, we're moving on with this project. It's that they're happening concurrently and that folks are still working very hard on looking at the safety situation with the Chick-fil-A. This is another project that is nearby, can happen concurrently. We're in this planning stage. And so it's not one or the other. They're both happening at the same time.
Okay, let me
Okay.
ask you, when did they start the study?
I would have to go back through my email, so I can follow up with you on that or connect you with the project manager if you'd like.
Okay, I would love that information. Can you put it in the
Okay.
chat as well?
I don't know that I'll be able to get it while I'm on this call, but if I could get your name, maybe could you send your email in the chat for me?
I sure will. Thank you, because
Thank
I
you
would
so
like that
Or
much.
you can
information.
send it to
Okay.
me too, Victoria. And I
Okay.
do want to
Mhm.
mention that Victoria, and I know we all have concerns about that intersection. And we are hoping to try to get a meeting with DDOT for some follow-up with that whole intersection. Allison, I don't think is on the call tonight, but we did have a conversation of how we can all get together to get this meeting with DDOT. It has been delayed enough. This has been a concern of this community for many years, before the Chick-fil-A, even before the Walmart. So we are hoping to be able to get DDOT next month in the community to answer all of our concerns. But Victoria can't answer those questions because she basically works with the bike lanes and not with our overall issues with Riggs in South Dakota. But thank you all so much. Please put your concerns in the chat. Who's up next?
Dominic Elliott.
Could I just
Hello, good evening. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, if I'm particularly curious if people have thoughts on the trailhead too. I'm happy to talk about the cycle track. That's obviously my project and it's what I'm here to talk about as well. But any comments about the trailhead, would be happy to hear those as well.
Okay.
Hey, good evening,
Okay.
everybody. Hey, my name is Dominic. I've been a resident of this area for the past maybe 2.5 years, but I grew up in Hyattsville. I'm a cyclist in the area, and I think this is a fantastic idea to put the bike lane right there. The more protected bike lanes we have in the area, I think the safer we can be. There's definitely, I drive too, so I know what it's like to be stuck in that traffic and how difficult it can be. But I think for more people to just come to this area, go to Walmart, go to Hellbender, having this bike lane, I think is a great idea. We don't need, I don't believe we need such a long right turn lane to go to South Dakota. I think people can make their way down to South Dakota with just a smaller amount of space. So I just want to say I appreciate the work that you're doing. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
And we have a question from Dr. Melvin Rhodes.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to ask a question. I guess you're going to have further meetings before all of this is done, correct?
Yes.
And you're going to have an outside third party that's actually reviewing this process, right?
Could you clarify that for me?
You mentioned earlier about somebody would be doing other surveys about this. I know when DDOT does a project, they also get an outside company to look over the project. And usually you get a grade on the project, when you're talking about safety, there's a grading system. And I know at that particular intersection years ago, the grading system for that was a D, because I was on the task force and on the DDOT committee and went to the meetings where their surveyors came in and did a study on it. Because they were supposed to do a study from first place all the way down to South Dakota. And that study hasn't been completed. And now there's another study on the 3rd Street side because of Chick-fil-A. And now you're trying to add a bike lane in this particular area where we always had major problems there, even with the reconstruction of South Dakota and Riggs. So how does this come in? as being safety, for traffic, because folks who drive in cars, that's the dangerous weapon. And in order for you to have safety in having two-way bike traffic, you're going to have to put a barrier up there. And in order to put a barrier up there, that prevents your emergency vehicles coming, because cars have to move over to allow them to move through there. And that is a danger zone right there if that comes up. And that's not being placed in high consideration, because emergency vehicles come, this is a throughway using South Dakota and using Riggs Road and South Dakota. Those are 3 throughways. So we need a wider for transportation to get through.
Well, thank you for your comments and your questions. I think I had jotted down 2 questions from you at the very beginning, which was, who am I speaking about when I say survey, and when I say, other people working on this? Sorry.
Okay. Usually that's a meeting with the project managers at DJOT with other project managers. If they're in the area of Ward 5, the project managers are supposed to meet. And when they do meet, they get a third party to evaluate the project to get a grading on the highway or whatever street that they're redesigning. And this project, I know on South Dakota and Riggs Road, at the time, the project was a D. So if you go back and look at the history of DDOT in this area, the project was a D. Oh, that's still passing for 20 years from now.
I think I understand what you're speaking about. And my name, by the way, let me just say hello. My name is Will Hansfield. I work with Vicki on the bike planning team. And I think what you're describing is a level of service grade, which is a metric for, really it's only vehicle level of service, so like automobile level of service.
Yes.
And it's a A through F grade.
Yes.
Believe it or not, what we want is not an A. An A would be very bad in most places. An A means you can go really fast, which is what leads to the most kind of high energy collisions we have in the city. So really C is where it's at in urban areas. A would be like a rural highway. So while it's an A through F grade, it's not exactly the same way you want to interpret it, like a grade school letter grade, just to give everyone a sort of sense of that scale. You're really looking for like a C in an urban area.
But not a D.
Well, D is actually in the acceptable range. So if that's what the intersection was before, what this project is unique, and it really has almost no impact on the level of service at the intersection, because we're maintaining the turn lane as Vicki has described, and we're maintaining it. I think it's like 120, 130 feet back. That's something like 7 or 8 car lengths, which is relatively long even for a turn pocket, but it's what we can do here. And I think it's a well conceived plan. One thing that I don't know if we probably touched on it, but there's only 2 lanes feeding the 2 lanes. So 2 lanes go across first place and 2 lanes receive that. And then you just continue up until the intersection. So I know it gets busy. That's partly why we're working in this location, right? It's railroad tracks. There's only certain places we can cross those citywide. And this is one of those places. So we spend a lot of attention on places that have railroad tracks. And I think you had a question about the fire EMS. And one thing that is not something you see every day, but these facilities are actually scaled so that like an ambulance or a fire truck even can drive through them. It's 10 feet wide. Fire truck or ambulance, they top out about 8.5. And we know that they do use them when things are congested. So we've seen in places that really do have major congestion problems that the EMS services will use these facilities when they need to get past. And the cyclists, they can just sort of like pull to the side, pull their bike up onto the curb in this case. So I think I understand your concern, and I used to live or work downtown, and I'd seen that on like some of the congested east-west streets before there was any bicycle infrastructure, and it was really bad. They'd get stuck going to GW Hospital and with no way to get through. And believe it or not, but that has now been somewhat resolved by having the bike lanes in place that they can also use. The users of those facilities are also able to get out of the way when there's a real emergency in place. Hopefully that answers the couple questions you had, but I just wanted to chime in and say hello and thank everybody for hearing us out on this one.
Thanks, Will.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Melvin,
comment.
did you have something else?
No, I wanted to say thank you for your comment, but still looking at, if you look at the scale, we really need to have community participation on this, because I do see where you're exiting off for this trailhead. It would be more logical to exit off in that parking lot, because you have traffic that's going west that's making a turn over into that lane for people to come into Food for Friends. So while you having a bike lane there, what are you going to do about that traffic coming over? So it has to be some type of separation there. So more talks needs to be on that particular exit point that you're trying to come off, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It's a good point. Just know that, just wanted to note that that's something that we talk with the team of engineers with about, and that's something that we have in designs in other bike lanes across the city. It's a design that we see as a common way of implementing two-way cycle tracks. I know it's concerning and it seems strange, but it does work pretty well in actuality.
Okay,
Some
so
questions in the comment section,
Barbara.
but we just
Okay,
had a
sure.
question, hand raised from Reverend Mays.
Okay, and then we're gonna go to the questions in the chat. Reverend Mays.
I had put my hand up before and it was taken down. I don't know why. But anyway, I was going to ask too about that intersection coming out of First Place. The buses are turning, going in and coming out. And I have watched that early mornings and in the evenings. It's a large traffic jam right in Riggs Road, just before you get to, well, after you pass Chick-fil-A, right there where that nursery school, whatever that is. The buses can't even get over into the lane they need to turn in. The same thing coming out of the station. Because I ride the bus, so I see it. The buses can't make the turns. They are just sitting in traffic.
Right. Okay, thank you. Can you go to the questions in the chat? If they're not duplicate ones, because I asked people to put their questions in the chat.
So the beginning questions were answered. Judy and Mimi were at the top of the chat. So I'm trying to move down. I don't know if Robert asked a question in regards to the data. Was there data for the beginning of I'm sorry, is it Veronica?
It's Victoria. It's okay. I'll answer that.
I knew a V and an A existed.
No, it's okay.
So there was a question Robert had in regards to the data, and someone came along, I think the ANC elect, and added a link, but we wanted to make sure that he said, could you please provide a link to your data?
So because I'm coming to you all at the earliest stage of the process, we haven't yet finished the data collection and data analysis process. Because we are really only looking at how big this turn pocket needs to be from Riggs onto South Dakota. The data and the analysis will be looking at how big that turn pocket needs to be to make sure that operations of that intersection work as they're supposed to. So that'll be some data that I don't have yet, but that's what we're working on. And the other piece of data is to make sure that the vehicles that are making turns near the cycle track can do so safely. So I think the previous commenter had mentioned bus activity. I'm not sure I'm remembering correctly if she had said on First Place or on Riggs, but for the bus activity on First Place, we're working with our transit team to make sure that the buses can make those turns. So just a general, yes, there is data, or there will be data, but it's not data that I'm sharing tonight because it's not yet completed, but we will have that.
Well, Vicki, can we ask that you bring that data? And again, we're concerned for Food and Friends, the entrance there. I mean, I don't see how their vehicles can get in. There are a lot of vehicles that come in and out of there, especially during Thanksgiving. There are many, many cars that come and pick up food to deliver. So that's a concern. I mean, Food and Friends is a good neighbor to us. And so we want to make sure that that is addressed, that I know that's a concern of theirs. It's a concern of the community as a whole as well. So if you can add that part to your data, and please get back with us when that data is available. Are there any more questions in the chat?
There's several more. There's a lot of discussion in the chat, so please bear with me. I know my question was next. I'm probably duplicating, but I did want it for the record that we were told once before that that area was too dangerous for children to have a playground there when EYA mentioned the playground in that Food and Friends area, because it was too dangerous for children to cross the intersection. So in your data, I would like to know, how did we go from that being too dangerous to now that it's okay for a bike lane?
So this project is within and between First Place and South Dakota. So I definitely am going to acknowledge and say South Dakota needs improvements, or that intersection with South Dakota needs improvements, but this project is not touching that. This project is between First Place and South Dakota, and it's going to come off the street before South Dakota. I know that there are concerns about people being able to access whatever facility we put in if the intersection near it is not up to a place where people feel safe with their children crossing the road. But the other safety study that DDOT is working on, I believe that's within the scope of that study.
Okay. All right, so I'm moving on. I think the rest is so I'm moving.
So, and can I just make one point? I'm looking at the diagram that's on here. So the bike lanes will not go all the way to South Dakota. It's going to cut through the area, that open space there. It's going to cut there. So I guess where the bike cuts off, people will then be able to get in that right lane and make the right on South Dakota. Is that correct?
Yes, that is exactly correct. Kind of like the image I'm showing right here.
Okay, and I want to say that for people who are on the call, we do have some people that dial in. So the bike lane will not go all the way to South Dakota, which is, I think, what we initially thought. It will cut off before South Dakota, so that what is now the middle lane, people will be able to get over in that right lane and make the right on to South Dakota. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for doing so.
Thank you for that, President Rogers. So most people are pretty much saying the same thing. There's some comments more so than questions. ANC elect, I believe that's Zach Amerman, mentioned he had concerns because of the danger, but wanted to know if there would be a protected bike infrastructure near the area, as that would be helpful.
At South Dakota?
He just said near there. Did you want to elaborate, Mr. Aberman?
Hi, yeah, I wasn't really a question. I was just saying that the fact that the road is fairly dangerous is a reason why I think it would be a good thing to have the protected bike lane that they're proposing to put in. So it was more of just a statement saying that I think a statement in support of putting in protected bike infrastructure in this area because it's a fairly dangerous road. So wasn't really a question, but.
Okay, with that, I think that there's just more discussion in the chat than there are questions. I think, there's one more question from Deborah Grimstead. What is the timeline for the future improvements to South Dakota Avenue, the purple dashed line?
I would need to check back with my colleagues and supervisors at DDOT. I know it's on that Move DC plan, but I don't know what fiscal year it's slated for or what it's aiming for off the top of my head.
Okay, I think Mac had asked her question, so that might be the end of the chat. Thank you.
Do we have time for 2 quick questions? I have 2 on the floor.
Yep, just 2 quick questions because we need to move the agenda.
Mr. Foxworth.
Sorry, my hand is down, or it should be down, sorry.
No problem. Melvin,
Yeah.
did you have another question?
Yes, I did. This was just for clarification. One, I'm absolutely clear on how to read maps, and I know that that didn't come off at the corner at the end of South Dakota and make a turn in for a trailhead. The distance, what I'm talking about is the distance from trailhead to the exit out of Food for Friends. That gives the person that's driving a larger period to turn, and a number of cars can back up in that turning lane to not cause a problem on the other two lanes above. I understand from first place to where the bridge is access. I understand that, but it's access from Food for Friends parking lot to where you're planning for the trailhead. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm so sorry. I think I didn't understand exactly the end
No,
part
you
of it.
mentioned access. Access is from first place to where the bridge is. That is access.
Access.
You were
Access?
saying there was accessible, it was
Excess. Yes, sorry. I'm so sorry. Extra
Right.
access.
right.
But
It's
it's
back
not
here.
between here and the bridge.
Right.
There's a distance of space that vehicles turning from Riggs onto South
Right.
Dakota need. They need
Right.
some space. They don't need
Yes.
all the way up to the bridge though.
No, I'm saying they don't need all the way up to the bridge. I said stop at Food for Friends. At where Food for Friends parking lot is. That's what I said.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I hear what
Okay.
you're saying, yeah. I
Okay.
think it's just, we're gonna look at the data to help point us in the
Right.
direction for that. yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about.
No, I
Okay, I
know,
can
you
read.
do. I'm
Okay, and
sorry.
what I'm trying to say is, even when you do your study, are you using comparable comparable traffic study? Because you're talking about just doing it at the corner. Yeah, that works at certain corners, but all corners don't have the amount of traffic that's flowing at this corner. When you're doing a comparison in your data.
So
Right.
we're not gonna do a comparison. We're gonna use exact data for this intersection.
Okay, because I
Okay.
know that's not always done.
Well, we're definitely gonna do it here. I can't
Okay.
speak for other places.
Okay, so we'll be able to find that out, and that data is the kind of data we'll be expecting to get from you, correct?
Yes.
Well, I'd have to double check with my colleagues about
Somebody
what
just said yes. Who's saying yes?
I did not.
No,
say
I
that.
was saying, I had asked her, it's Barbara. I had
Oh, okay.
asked Victoria for the data. I mean, I'm
Yep.
hoping that when this data comes in, that this is something that you would share with the community. Is that
Correct.
correct?
So what I'm trying to say is
Mhm.
that there are traffic counts for this intersection. The numbers of which I would imagine we would include in a report to you guys. I
You're
have to,
supposed to.
yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
But it would be traffic count showing how many right turns and peak hours and
And how many
and-
bicyclists use that intersection or use this street coming from North Capitol all the way down to First Place, right? Because you
I
don't just include an isolated area. You have to include before and after. when
So
you're
are you
doing the
asking if
study.
we use bicycle data from a whole area or is that what
No,
you mean?
from the area from North Capitol, because that's a major intersection, a major thoroughfare, right?
So this study is going to look specifically at South Dakota and Riggs because we're not looking at changing the operations of that traffic signal as part of this. When we're doing a project where we change the traffic signaling, then they look at the signal, they look at sometimes the ones near it. Because this project is not going through South Dakota and Riggs, our primary question is how big of a turn pocket do we need from Riggs onto South Dakota? There's no other thing that we need to look at because we're not changing the signal timing. We're not changing how much time people get to go through the intersection or take a left. We're only looking at that turn pocket.
I
So we won't be
understand that,
looking at
but
other intersections.
excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what I was saying is because if you have a plan for South Dakota bike lane, you're making this and thinking that this will be a connection point. So you already have to look at other things in the future to compare to this, right?
So this project was put on, on the list as something to pursue in the short term because it does not require extensive construction, there is space on Riggs that is not used in terms of operations. I'm not saying there aren't vehicles in it because that's not the, that's not the case, but there are 2 through lanes at Riggs in first place. There are only 2 through lanes at South Dakota and Riggs, but there is a turn lane. So because we have additional space between these 2 intersections, the team that I work with said, you know what, this is a project that we can do in the near term because it's not a major construction project. South Dakota, as you all know, is a big road. It's going to need a lot more in-depth analysis. It's not going to be this, obviously it'd be more in-depth than this. We're just looking at one small segment of one road. And so that's why I'm not presenting about South Dakota tonight. I'm presenting about this. This is an initial step.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I get
And
exactly what's going
hey,
on.
Melvin, if you can, put that in the chat or either email me your last point so that we can
Yeah.
keep all of this together.
Thank you.
Those that are in, that had thought it was a good idea, put that in the chat as well so that we can have all the comments. All righty. So Victoria, I want to say thank you so much for your presentation. Are you able to email me that presentation?
Absolutely. I will definitely do that. And if you don't mind me just saying, thank you again to everybody for, I know you're very, very thoughtful comments and questions. I really, really appreciate it. And I apologize if at any point it wasn't 100% clear from the first thing I said, but I appreciate your questions. And I will be presenting again to ANC 5A and 4B about this. So there will be other opportunities in addition to this, meeting that we're having now and others. There'll be ample opportunities to speak about this.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming on and answering questions. So we're going to move the agenda along. Is Mr. Culpepper here from Pepco?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. The floor is yours.
Okay, let me turn on my. Okay, can everybody see me?
Yes.
Okay. 1 second. I am going to share my screen. I have a presentation and just wanted to first and foremost thank you all for allowing me to come before you and give an update on the Capital Grid project and other initiatives. Let's see, it says host disabled participant sharing.
Just one moment, please.
Okay. Okay, let me know if you guys can see that.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you all again very much for letting me come before you to talk about the Capital Grid project. And we're happy to share with everyone that the Capital Grid project, as far as the transmission line along Riggs Road in the area, is complete. We are at this point in time restoring Riggs Road as well as 6th Street, and we hope to be complete with the restoration by the end of this week, weather permitting. And we have at this point in time certified all of the conduit that has been put into the we're at this point certifying all of the conduit that has been constructed. We will also make sure to remove all of the signage that is along Riggs Road for the restoration. Just at a larger view, the 10-mile transmission line that we have for the Capital Grid project is on pace to be fully installed hopefully by the end of 2023 next year or early 2024. There are still some remaining portions of the transmission line that is being installed further along in other neighborhoods further south. But we are complete with the installation of the conduit along Riggs Road. And we have, just to share with you all, been in the community engaging folks about this project and have attended monthly meetings with neighbors along Riggs Road much of this year. Participated in the Celebrate Peckworth event in Ward 4, as well as participated more recently in the Lamond-Riggs Turkey Drive, which was November 19th. We were happy to provide the turkeys for that giveaway, and I'm definitely happy to partner with the Lamond-Riggs Civic Association with that event as well. And as you can see, we have several pictures from the members of the Civic Association, as well as the council members as well. And we look forward to the senior holiday party tomorrow. Will be there sharing information about the project as well as other PEPCO initiatives. And then we will also be participating in the Lamond-Riggs event that's scheduled for December 17th as well at the Recreation Center. Just wanted to share a few some information about some PEPCO initiatives, mainly energy assistance, and just wanted to encourage everyone to please apply for assistance if you are eligible. There's several different energy assistance programs, such as LIHEAP, which is a federally funded program that does provide funding for DC residents to apply to your energy bill, as well as other utilities as well. There's also the residential aid discount program as well that does give you a credit to a portion of your bill. Both these programs are income-based, and they can be accessed by applying through DOEE. I know that there is a backlog of applications and they're currently being processed, but please do apply. There is funding available, and we definitely do urge you to apply. There are also other options as well, such as budget billing and special payment arrangements, as well as extending your payment date. And that can be arranged through calling our customer care. And just wanted to urge you that if you are have a high bill, we have experienced because of COVID, and then we just suspended bills for during that time, that, you know, there were a lot of people who may have incurred, you know, high bills during this time. We really urge you to contact customer care as soon as possible, so that you are not, you know, facing disconnection. But definitely do contact us to make any arrangements as necessary. But these programs are available, and we're just really urging people to definitely apply and access them, and definitely contact customer care as well. And then there are also other agencies that do provide funding for energy assistance, such as the Washington Area Fuel Fund, and then also the Greater Washington Urban League as well. And if you are eligible to receive the LIHEAP or Residential Aid Discount Program because of your income, you know, you can automatically be enrolled in the Arrearage Management Program. This is something that was rolled out, I believe, in 2019, where pretty much what happens is if you're eligible for any one of the programs, if you make a payment towards your bill, you know, you do get a credit for your bill as well. So it's just helping you pay down any high balance that you have. And there's certain rules that do apply. You have to be, you know, 60 days past due, and then have a minimum balance of $300 or greater to be eligible for the Arrearage Management Program. So just wanted to make sure that people were aware of that as well. And then also wanted to remind people about the DC Infrastructure Academy, which is an amazing program to really help specifically DC residents towards a pathway to employment with the utilities. This is a 14-week paid training program where you are actually preparing to take the entrance test for the utility industry, which is the CATS test. It's a 14-week paid program, and they're basically preparing you to take this entry-level test. Once you pass that test, when you're finished with the program, you're absolutely guaranteed a job with Pepco or one of our contractors or any other one of the utilities such as Washington Gas and DC Water, or other employers in the area as well. So, this is a great program. The next cohort is in January of 2023, and they take about 28 to 30 folks in the DC Infrastructure Academy at a time. It is a quarterly cohort. They just had a cohort to enter in November, I believe, early November. No, I'm sorry, mid-October. And they will be graduating, I believe, on December the 12th. So coming up very shortly. And then our next cohort will be in January. So, please do, look out for this project. We'll be sharing this information at the Lamond-Riggs event on December 17th. But I can put my information in the chat as well as my email address, phone number. And if you have any specific questions about this, I definitely can share this information with you and provide a point of contact to answer any further questions that you have about the DC Infrastructure Academy. Last but not least, I wanted to share with folks that our parent company, Exelon, has launched a racial equity capital fund. And this is a fund that is about $36 million towards this fund that is specific to providing funding for minority-owned businesses within the service territories. And of course, Pepco is one of those. And the loans, low interest loans, in the amount of $100,000 to $300,000. And it is a great program that's really focused on, growing minority-owned businesses in the communities in which we serve. And it's a great program really focused on, growing that minority-owned businesses. And if you know of anyone who's interested, if you look at the information below, you can apply through exeloncorp.com/racial equity capital fund. And it's $36 million that they provide. And those funds are, once they're gone, it is gone, but they look for providing those loan amounts to specifically minority-owned businesses. So just wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that. And I can provide additional information as well in the chat on that, as well as the website for that. And that is all that I have, and happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Culpepper, for staying on and your presentation. Do we have, I see Ms. Mack's hand is up.
Yes. Mr. Culpepper, first of all, I'd like to commend you on the job you did with the Capital Grid project, helping the Riggs community with the meetings and keeping us informed. My question is, they just repaved the streets today, but prior to them repaving the streets, they came along and they put temporary white space lines going across. When we had on the 500 block, we had a white solid line. And when they did the white passing lane lines, it caused a lot of accidents because cars was running around on the parking lane part trying to pass other cars through the lights, and we had major accident. We even had one car flip over like 2 doors down from me. So when they finish up, can you make sure they put the white parking line back along Riggs Road for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. I can definitely make sure that they do that. I'll share that information. We do have our project manager who's online, Esther Rabiso, and we can make sure that we communicate that to the contractor. But thank you very much, and it was a pleasure working with you as well.
Okay, my next question, thank you. My next question is, I know DOE is backed up and they've been backed up for a couple of months. About how long is it going to take for them to process these applications?
You know what? I really can't speak for DOEE. I know that just talking with my colleague that works directly with DOEE on energy assistance. I know that they're working as swiftly as they can, but they have been inundated with a lot of applications, just because we've suspended disconnections and in some instances payment, during the COVID pandemic. And so they did receive like a flood of applications, and I know that they're processing them as quickly as they can. I don't have a specific answer with you on that. What I can share is that if you have applied for energy assistance and you are, at a point where you may be facing disconnection, or you're concerned about that, please do contact me. And what I can do is reach out to my colleague that does have a relationship with the folks who are processing the applications to kind of find out if there's any information that can be shared. But I do know that they do have a backlog,
Okay,
unfortunately.
because I've been helping residents put applications in and they keep calling me, but I'm like, I submitted them, but it's just like, I didn't know, so I could just update with that.
Yes, ma'am. And yeah, they have shared with us that they are processing everything as quickly as possible. We've gotten a lot of calls from folks who are wondering about their application as well. And we do all we can to reach out and, find out if we can, but, I would just encourage you to keep calling, and then also reach out to the MOKers as well.
I was going to suggest that.
Yeah,
the MOKers may have a contact person that may be able to move the process along, Miss Matt.
Okay, they do not on our end.
Okay, maybe check with Councilwoman Lewis. Maybe Jim can help you. We can talk about that offline, but I will see if we can
and
get a contact person there.
Okay, Mr. Culpepper, when you finish, can you give me a call out offline? I have something else to ask you, but I don't want to put it out there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions in the chat for Mr. Culpepper?
Yes, there's a question from Michael Cohen. I apologize. Can Mr. Culpepper put his information in the chat with Pepco? Who is with Pepco? Can he provide his contact information in the chat? That's what he just asked.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I can do that right now.
Okay. Anything else, Tish?
That's all I see. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mr. Culpepper. We look forward to working with you for the upcoming holiday event. And I need to mention that. Thank you so much, Mr. Culpepper.
Oh, so yeah, thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much.
So I do need to mention that most of you all know that the Lamond-Riggs dance company or what group, they reached out to us, and so we, LRCA, the Friends of Citizens Aware, and the Lamond Community Action Group, we're all supporting and having a huge holiday event. It will be on December 17th. It'll be at the Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. And that is a Saturday from noon to 3. So we're asking people to come through. It'll be some nice holiday music, some good hand dancing, and good fellowship with a neighbor. So I wanted to mention that. So
if I could interject real quick, we're looking for volunteers as well. If you'd like to volunteer, I'll send information on the listserv. Please reply. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Tish. Yes. So we're going to move along. I thought I saw David Gaston, which is our library branch manager, but he may be off now.
I'm still here. You're still here.
Bless you. Okay. Did you want to give, we don't have a lot of time, but did you want to give a quick update at the library?
Sure. I just want to say thank you for having me, Barbara. And to everyone else on the call, it's really good to hear from you. And I just want to take a minute to say we're at our 5-month mark We've made it. I'm very happy to say that we have gotten through a lot of challenges that I won't go into detail about, but many of you know we opened on June 27th. We are literally just moving into the 5th month. When we opened with a lot of challenges, from collections to staffing issues, to some building issues, to some technology issues, to a lot of issues that I don't want to spend a lot of time getting too involved with. But I will say this: you should be very proud to know that at this point we have collected over 200 emails of families from Lamond-Riggs. We conducted a survey sometime, I believe, in August. Within our 2nd month, we were already into conducting a survey to get an assessment from the families in this community about what kind of programming they wanted to see for their children 0 to 12. And in between that 0 and 12 age range, we have now 2 story times, one in the morning, one in the evening. We have a STEM program for young people on Thursdays. We have an art and movement program on Saturdays. We have various craft activities for families to enjoy when they come in on any given day. Our young people are utilizing the computers, they're checking out books, and we are constantly working on improving programming for our children, specifically 0 to 12. When we talk about our teens are pretty consistent with their computer usage. They come in, they're doing homework. Many of them are volunteering with us. We are supporting them with getting some hours to use towards high school. They come in and they game, be it chess or some of our video game consoles. We do have a virtual reality program coming. I've been trying to take my time because so much has been going on. But the VR program is really going to be unique here at LAR. Our young people are working with us to improve our programming for them, but it also requires some of the engaging them like we did the families, which is what we're working on right now. When it comes to our adults, we are successful each and every day with consistent computer usage, printing, scanning, the usage of study rooms, meeting rooms, checking out books, the use of the general space. Programming consists right now of, we have Diane that comes in every Friday for knitting and crochet. We have a monthly book club that we're really happy about, that's been doing their thing at Lamond-Riggs for a number of years. We're introducing chess with the help of Robert Oliver from the Friends. That's going to be coming soon. We have a computer basics class coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I have 8 computers, 8 large keyboards, mouses, and a curriculum that I think would be really good for those who are interested in improving their computer skills. For our seniors, we're still really working on that partnership. We have Riggs LaSalle to thank for the partnerships that we have with them now, that include not just their teens, but their seniors, because they have a strong senior program. We're conducting a tour that's going to happen soon with Donald, where the seniors are going to come, take a tour, and tell us, do they want a bingo night? Do they want a movie night? Whatever it is that they're interested in, we're willing to work on it. So I just want to say that within the 5 months, it's been challenging for us. We've had to overcome a lot of obstacles. September was the closeout for fiscal 23 for 22. And as you know, district government, when that's happening, a lot is going on. Our FY 22, 23 has kicked off, but we're in the midst of just the holiday vibe, the holiday energy, but we are primed for a strong new year with a lot of new partnerships and new programming. And I just want to say that I have really developed my team. I've learned a lot of important lessons about managing and working on my administrative side of working at Lamond-Riggs. And it has been something that I continue to work on, but I feel like I'm doing well and the team is responding well. We have a weekly announcement. I'm not sure if I could share my screen, Ms. Barbara, but it's disabled right now. But anyway, I have a weekly announcement that goes out every week to my staff. You're allowing me to do that? Allow
I'm not
notifications.
sure, Angie.
Don't worry. If you can't do it, wait a minute. Select the screen. Allow. Remember this. Okay, if it's not allowing me to do it, it's okay. Entire screen. Allow. Can you, is that, can you see me? Can you see this?
Yes.
Lamond-Riggs. All right, this goes out every week to my staff. This is an opportunity for me. As you can see, today was one of those days where we speak regularly about things that are important, not only to the staff regarding trainings, but supplies, any issues with our study rooms. We have an issue with temperature control, but we get to communicate what that issue is and how we're working to resolve it. When we talk about the releasing of reserved study rooms, how long do we allow for someone who has reserved a room to not show up before we give it to another customer who's waiting? The processing of periodicals and newspapers, the new team meetings for techs and librarians, me getting my staff together. When I meet with my staff for monthly one-on-ones, as you can see, the first week of each month will be for librarians. The second week will be for LAs. The third week will be for techs. We're going to be answering voicemails. My staff in the very beginning of each day and the end of each night will be checking the voicemails and providing me with whatever information or messages that were left. We have a space for customer feedback. We want to hear from our community. We want to know what we're doing right. We want to know what we're doing wrong. And in this monthly announcement, our team will get copies and paste of what those issues might be so we can work to resolve it. Finally, you see on the situational telework, we have a plan for our staff to really begin to step into roles that are going to add value, be it to the wall display or window display or book display or a program or activity, where I'm aligning my team to step into some roles so we can better serve this community. But again, it's an ongoing process, but I want you to see that I've taken the administrative side of this very seriously. So not only can I report to my supervisor directly, but I can provide reports to this community and other leaders in the community with a way to demonstrate how I'm working to manage this branch and whatever those issues may be. Finally, I would like to give you a snapshot of just our programming so that y'all can see what this looks like. And this is what access I want to give you. I want you to see how it works. When we submit a program calendar, it is about a 3-month calendar, October, November, December. These are the ways that I want you to know we can work together to talk about what will January, February, and March look like. And these are the types of ways that I have to submit this. I'm just trying to be transparent so you all can see it. It doesn't mean we're going to do every program. It means we're thinking about what types of programs we think will be useful to the community. And that only works if the community chimes in on what you think you might need. That's the end of what I had to say. Thank you.
Great, great. Yeah, that's a lot of information. And we do have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay, great. Let me close off the screen.
Tish?
Yes, okay. Questions in the chat. The first was from Miss Elaine Gunter, who wanted to know what time on Thursday is your STEM program and what is the age group?
The STEM program comes out of our children's librarian space. It's from about, actually, we thought we would do 8 to 12 as a sort of a breakaway from the story times, which are usually for the younger kids. And we thought, how do we support some of our older kids, 6, 7, 8, with a STEM program? And what we found is that it's just a mix. It's from 5:30 to 6. And we have not told any kids that they can't participate. We've just accepted that some kids are older and they're participating, and some kids are drawn that are younger to the STEM energy, and we just roll with it. Every Thursday, 5:30 to 6.
Okay, thank you. Another question was my question. Can we still reserve meeting rooms online? Deborah said yes, but I just, maybe you should say it openly and publicly so folks will know.
Well, absolutely. You can reserve online. It's just going to DC library.org. And when you clock in, when you check in, you go to events, under events, services, and under services, you go to meeting rooms. And when you go to meeting rooms, you select between study room or large meeting room. And then you just put in your library credentials and you pretty much can reserve the room. If it's a meeting room, I will approve it. If it's a study room, it doesn't need to be approved. You'll get a confirmation that your time slot for 3 hours will be available. But if it's a large meeting room request for 10 to 100 or a conference room 2 to 12, you submit that request for that meeting room. It will go into a queue that I will look at and review and then ultimately approve. If you need to get that approved immediately, you do not hesitate one bit. You simply call me directly, email me directly, or reach out to the branch and have someone reach out to me and tell them you need to speak to me immediately. If you say you need that room approved right now, it gets approved right then and there. Because I know that sometimes people really need to know, I got this space, so that you can go into the next step of your planning with promoting and getting the word out. Sometimes I can see it within 24 hours, sometimes I don't.
Okay, David, can you please put your contact information in the chat as well if you haven't done that? Is there another question? We need to move the agenda along.
Yes, one last question from Danielle Lewis Wright. Do you still have the PAL Storytime Reading Program?
I'm not familiar on what you just mentioned. You said PAL. Can you say that again? Is that what you said?
PAL, P-A-L-S.
P-A-L-S. I have not heard anything about PALs at this point. I can check into that first thing in the morning. Can she tell me a little bit about what was PALs? Is this something that would happen in the older branch?
Hi, David. Yes, it was. It was a program. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
It was a program and it centered around bringing in pets and the kids would read to the pets. And I thought it was a really cool structure of introducing children to books and also reading. So that program existed previously.
Yes, ma'am. I did hear something about that program and I did hear about the success of that program. What I would like to do is if you can reach out to me and be a part of helping me to reintroduce that as a genuine interest in the community, I think we could put something that push that forward. I don't think there would be an issue with that. But if you don't mind, reach out to me, help me get caught up to speed, and I would love to support making that happen.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks for all of your hard work.
You're welcome. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay. Thank you so much, David, for agreeing to come back. I know it didn't work out last month, but thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We're here to support you. We appreciate all that you're doing, not only for the library, but also for our community. So we appreciate you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you as well, Barbara. I'll do whatever we got to do. You know that. But
yes. All right. Thank you.
have a good evening.
Okay. So
Bye-bye.
you all, we are over, and I appreciate those of you all that are staying on. We just have just a couple more updates. Is Edwin Washington on? And again, if you have something new to report, please report. So Edwin Washington, who is the executive director of the Parks Main Street, you're up, Edwin.
Thank you so much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. I apologize. My video isn't working. Just a few things. I know we're a little bit on time. Just wanted to thank the community and everyone for involvement with Black Friday that came up for a Small Business Saturday. These were events that were held at Culture Coffee 2. We got a lot of traction from it, specifically on Black Friday. Holiday Lights, our third year of Holiday Lights is underway. The voting has started. And we will have, the judges will be completing their voting by this Thursday for our local voting. I also wanted to just say that during Giving Tuesday, thank you to the community for supporting our Thriving Small Business Fund. We were able to raise just about $1,100 during Giving Tuesday. And just in preparation for 23, we will be doing roughly about $40,000 in grants and technical assistance to the small businesses in Riggs Park and over in Manor Park. And then coming up on the 10th, this Saturday, from 1 to 7 at Hellbenders, we are partnered with Hellbenders to put together the holiday market. If you're going from 1 to 7, Santa and the like. And also at Culture Coffee 2, coming up on the 17th, the same time as the holiday hand dance, is a gingerbread house event from 1 to 3. And then there's also a New Year's gathering on the 31st from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and New Year's at Culture Coffee. So just wanted to say that. Thank you. Certainly it's been a great year for the Parks Main Street and our partnership with the Lamond-Riggs Citizens Association. We've collaborated on different things, and we look forward to that happening as we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Edwin. And I do want to recognize that Commissioner Allison Brooks has joined us. Allison, you want to say something?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I was a tad late to the meeting. I do have actually 2 quick updates. I wanted to let everyone know, well, I guess I'll say 3 updates. We are working on a resolution that will appear in the January meeting to talk about safety along Eastern Avenue. We want to engage our Maryland neighbors to work with the district government or the district police department to prevent people just running across the street and committing a crime on one side of the street and running to the other. So that is legislation or resolution, I should say, not legislation, that is pending and should appear in the January meeting. So it's going to focus on like the Shell gas station, the McDonald's, Fleetwood, all of that area, the 6200 block of Eastern Avenue, in the hopes that they will make a more concerted effort to tamp out crime in that area, especially before the spring comes and the weather breaks and people start to hanging out again. So that was one thing. Next, although this is not inside of my SMD, it is next door to it. I'm working with Walmart to schedule a meeting with the community. I've been working with President Rogers also so that we can bring them to a meeting potentially in February or a separate meeting if we can get that scheduled. They've been a bit elusive. Which is not to their benefit when they have to come before the ANC. And then lastly, again, President Rogers and I are working on putting forward a meeting with DDOT and maybe some other agencies to drill down into some of the specific concerns within this area. So hopefully all of those meetings will be coming in the next couple of weeks to months. And I'm sure you'll be made aware of them when the time comes. That's
okay.
It. Oh, lastly, we do not meet, the ANC does not meet in December. There is no ANC meeting in December. We will resume in January. And of course, we'll let you know when the meeting agenda is published.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. And I will segue to say, reminder, we will not have a January meeting. We'll be back in February. Committees, does any of the committee chairs have a new update? Not to repeat anything we've already said. Mr. Oliver, do you have an update?
Very quick one. Basically, just want to thank the community for completing the survey that we published that was based upon the land that's just across the street from the Chick-fil-A. Wanted to say that I will be working with DDOT to ensure that our thoughts on the land and what they plan to do, that we can work together and provide some type of compromise, which is helpful for both parties. Also, there is a meeting next week that Barbara had mentioned earlier that we'll be sitting down with EYA and discussing what they call a visioning session, where we're going to take the results of the survey and basically have someone look at the land, walk it, and then reimagine what could possibly go there based upon our survey choices. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much. Any other committee chairs have an update?
I just like.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, sorry. I'd just like to say any of my committee members that may be on the call, we're trying to plan a meeting for the bylaws committee for December 11th, time to be determined. Thanks.
Thank you. Angie?
Two quick announcements. Thanks to those who contacted me about the membership and communications team. We're going to have a meeting early next week, ideally on Monday at our early evening, the 12th. I will send messages out to you if to see if you can attend. Anyone else who's interested in joining, feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the comment section. Also, we are moving upgrading our membership portal. Membership portal will include membership card, will include your membership status, whether you've paid or not, and the ability to renew online. So if you receive anything between now and probably the next day, just random emails, I apologize for that. That will just be me transferring things over into the new portal. So probably in the next about day and a half, you should receive a larger communication alerting you to the fact that the membership portal is open and available to you. And we will also have information about the anniversary.
Okay. It is actually 9:01. And again, I thank you all for staying on the call. If you have any more community concerns, you can always give us a call, 202-838-6058, or you can send us an email at ask@lrcadc.org. I am going to adjourn the meeting. I'm going to say good night. Thank you all so much. Happy holidays to you all.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Stay safe and stay warm.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. Good night.
Good night.
Happy
Great
holidays.
meeting.
Good night.